edition of The Sunrise for our newspaper reviews is a legal luminary, also Barrister Nadiume Awforkansi. Barrister.
Richard, thank you for having me this morning.
Thank you. It's good to see you early morning like this. You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So, we'll be moving straight away to the newspaper headlines for today.
Yeah, so let's see what's making front page news today in The Nation, Punch, Vanguard, and The Guardian newspaper. Now, on The Nation newspaper today, we have why Fubara delayed return. And then on the Punch headlines, we have Osun PDP, also Federal High Court CJ, to probe suspicious letter on Osun local government funds. And on the Vanguard headlines, we have Rivers Assembly resumes sitting, Fubara fails to show up. And on the Guardian headlines, we have exhausted doctors, long wait times test public hospitals' care capacity.
All right. Barrister,
Yeah.
you're here. Let's begin with the Guardian newspaper before we go to other trending issues. At the Vanguard newspaper there, we saw exhausted doctors always issue with our health sector.
Yeah.
So this time, Barrister, I don't know if you just give us a fresh perspective on these issues.
If we are starting with the Guardian, which you rightly pointed out, and the heading says exhausted doctors, long wait times, test public hospitals, care capacity. You see, I told you earlier, I think there was one of these programs I attended here, and I said very many institutions of state has been decimated. Very many institutions of state have been captured by the ruling party. And you recall that the health, a healthy nation, they say is a wealthy nation. And if you look at the back and forth of doctors and government in terms of either equipping the hospitals, either in terms of their remunerations, either in terms of the general care of our hospitals, because doctors go for strike on a lot of reasons. Sometimes they go on this strike, they'll be ignored.
Okay.
Sometimes they go on this strike, government will talk to them. But you find out that each time government reach an agreement, government will always renege on that very agreement. It has never been the normal way of our government, be it a PDP government, be it a APC government. But that of APC is even worse. So if you look at what has been happening in the health sector, you certainly have to understand that until the National Health Insurance Scheme, which Obasanjo tried to introduce during his time, until it works and government hospitals are equipped, this consistent, special work, strike, this and that will continue. And the people who are concerned about it, they don't care. Most of the time when I talk, sometimes I always make reference to Mr. P2B. You find out that most of the time when he visits hospitals, he goes to what area he calls critical areas. You find out that many of the hospitals lack equipment. And even when somebody like him prefers to give equipment or catch the nation channel towards a given project in a hospital, some of the governors have the temerity, like a member of Edo State, to tell him that before he comes to his state, he has to get clearance for him. But these are, by the way, we are talking about the doctors and their activities in terms of their work, job satisfaction. Like when you work and you don't have any satisfaction in the job you are doing, that also leads to brain drain. You might have one serious health challenge here. They'll say they must fly you to Canada, maybe from Enugu here. Lo and behold, people have the money to fly you to Canada. And on getting to Canada, it will still be an Igbo doctor in Canada that will be treating you. They fly you to US. It will still be the Nigerian doctor or Nigerian nurse in US that is treating you. And many of these people read here in Nigeria. And you ask yourself, what went wrong? What went wrong? Because they got tired of what they have been doing with the government and whatever capacity they tend to. It's because the government doesn't want to care. And when they are sick, the government officials, when they are sick, they still go there and still see Nigerian doctors treating them. Because we have the best of brains and best of hands in terms of medical practice all over the world. If you Google percentage of Nigerian doctors in the United States, you'll be marveled. At least in my village, I have two. In my small village, two of our medical doctors. But our first medical doctor is in Boston. The second one is also in Massachusetts, just the same state. So you finally ask yourself, what actually went wrong or what is going wrong? So is it the Igbo adage na Okpisi Amara Akpuko na Agụba Adọrọ so or is it both? And it means whether the barber doesn't know how to do a good haircut or whether the clipper is not sharp. So you check the two. You now find out that, ordinarily speaking, it involves the barber itself. Okay. Because the clipper is always there. Okay. But the barber who will handle the clipper sometimes gets a blunt clipper to do the barbing.
All right. Also, before I even ask you about the JAPA issue with the doctors, the P2B you mentioned is on record to have said that there's nothing wrong with exporting doctors, health practitioners abroad. That in fact, that should serve as a means of earning foreign exchange to the country. So, he may not be any better than the PDP and APC government you've accused.
No. It's just like you picked a sketch of the judgment, like when you read court judgments, you pick what you call a bit addicted without going to the details of the judgment. Yes, he said there's nothing wrong with exporting doctors, but you don't export at the expense of your own health care. That's complete the sentence, but what he meant. Just Google it, because I have been following him. You don't export your own doctors when you don't have any here. You know, there's nothing wrong in it. Just like he says, there's nothing wrong in borrowing. But what is wrong in borrowing is, what do you do with the money you borrowed?
Okay.
Do you borrow to consume or do you borrow to invest?
Okay.
Yes.
Now we are speaking to JAPA.
Yeah.
And this has become predominant with our health practitioners. Yes, we've heard about doctors collapsing while on duty. Yes, the same situation, we interviewed a resident doctor recently.
Okay.
And he said about the condition of service. Some of them are exhausted. Then you talk about facility. You talk about what they need to even discharge that very oath of hypocritical oath that they took to save life. Then, Barrister, what are the solutions? You know, a lot of times we'll criticize.
Yes.
What do you think should be the solution to this issue? How do we stop the japping of the medical doctors?
Now, it's not enough to say, give the doctors what they want.
Yes.
You also talk about how do you give them what they want. The National Health Insurance Scheme, you see, the thing has been bastardized by those who are actually implementing it.
Can you take that again?
The National Health Insurance Scheme, the NHIS,
okay.
The intention was people contribute to a common pool. Everybody won't be sick at the same time. So those who are sick, you use from the common pool and get the person the best of treatment. There's no way everybody who contributes to the scheme will be sick at the same time. So that is the essence of the National Health Insurance Scheme. But that National Health Insurance, the people who are managing the fund are also embezzling it. That is the problem.
Allegedly?
Allegedly, anyway. But no, well, allegedly, because until I drag them to court. So maybe court makes a pronouncement.
We've not seen anybody in court. We've not seen facts
to
prove that they
but
actually...
Then, you don't need... That's why sometimes I said, most of you press men are part of the problem because you try to protect these people.
No, we're just doing our job.
No, do your job.
But you wouldn't want to be accused when we've not found your hand in the national...
There's no problem.
Yes.
Just do your job. But just know that if I slap you now on camera,
yes,
you don't need to get the pronouncement of
there's an evidence
to say that I slapped you.
Right, there's an evidence for that.
Now, when somebody is sick,
yes,
and he applies to the pool,
yes,
to get one to pay for his treatment, and then tell him there's no fund. So what other judicial pronouncement do you need to know that the money is being embezzled? This money is meant to be there in an interest-in account, so that at the end of the day, there's no time everybody will say to come to the pool and they see money. So that's what I'm going. And it's contact ministry. So, but now they have really extended it to non-civil servants. If you want to contribute to the pool, one of them came to my chamber the other day, and I wanted to put in my entire family. We are still working on that. when that he wanted to get the registration, CAC registration of my chambers, which I told her I would get and send to her. Otherwise, by now I could have rejected them, even though I'm not a civil servant. So that is one area. That area is to make sure that the patient who comes to me as a doctor have that satisfaction. And once the patient comes and the drugs are there and the equipment are there, you find out that that doctor will start having job satisfaction. And that will control the JAPA syndrome, which you have been talking about. So you also find out that the equipment, how do you now procure the equipment? We can raise, a health trust fund. There can be a health trust fund. Even people donate to a certain health trust fund, and they ensure that they are well managed. If they are well managed and the equipment are got, you find out that this doctor, the environment. Okay, I will give you an example of what happened to me, not to any other person. Just on Wednesday, I had a tooth surgery, in which I pulled a teeth. Now, in the process of pulling the tooth, one broke. And now to get the one, the remaining that is remaining, I need to deliver to an X-ray in a private dental clinic somewhere in a shop, somewhere around shop, right? I have to go and take the X-ray and still come back to the state dental clinic for continuation of the surgery. The surgery lasted from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Just remove a tooth. But I asked them, what happened to your own X-ray machine? They said the X-ray machine broke down. And if it breaks down, so you can't repair it. So that's where I'm going. If all these equipments are in one place, that surgery that took, just to remove a tooth, that took close to 5 hours, could not have taken up to that. Because I need to move to another place, get what they want and bring it back. So that's why I'm saying that if there is a pool in which you have health trust fund, state by state, local government by local government, get good managers. But the problem we have in Nigeria is managers. Who are going to be the managers? These places where these people are running to in the United States, the health insurance scheme there is working. Obama introduced it, for instance, in the United States, and it's working for them. And you don't need to complain when you are sick. Not that people don't fall sick there. People fall sick, but when you fall sick and you are covered by an insurance scheme, you get your treatment.
Okay.
But here, when you fall sick, sometimes they refer you to a pastor who will start pouring olive oil on your head when you are having leukemia, instead of going to where you change your blood. So that is the problem of Africa. And the people who brought that one to you, they are no more in there, they are treating themselves. But they tell you to pray. And the pastor who tells you to pray, when he gets sick, he flies overseas to treat himself.
All right, Barrister, that was very exhaustive. Let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. Barrister.
Yes.
Looking at this headline, Osun PDP asks Federal High Court CG to probe suspicious letters on Osun LG funds case. This is where you're coming. This is your terrain. Why are we having this? We know the crisis in Osun State. Why is this crisis not resolved legally? Why are we having myriads of issues propping up one after one another on this case?
I've told you, you see, if you are good students of history, Adam Oshimole has ever told people, come into APC and their sins are forgiven. Whatever the APC government cannot do does not exist. These Osun people, the only problem with Aneke and the APC government is join APC because he feels in my own Yoruba land, I don't want any party to be outside my own party. The same thing Obasanjo tried, and which he resisted it. Tinubu resisted it when Obasanjo tried it. Every other party, every other state in the West joined the PDP, joined Obasanjo's close to the second term. It was only Lagos State, and it was this Tinubu who was governor of Lagos then. Now, that is the sentence. Now, look at that kind of embarrassment. Look at the letter. Chief Judge now writing to people that the matter has been transferred to Federal High Court, Abuja, what do you call it? Vacation court. Vacation is about, let us say, 1 month and 2 weeks. They start from 1st August and start by 15th of September. That is our vacation period. Now, you now transfer the matter from Osun to Federal High Court, Abuja, for expeditious trial within 1 month and 2 weeks. What you could not try within the period. And then who wrote that letter? When court makes an order transferring a case, it's not done by letter.
Okay.
You rule out the order.
You rule out the order.
Ruling it out.
Okay.
Because whatever the judge says is order.
Okay.
You don't start writing letter.
Okay.
So if the judge says, I cannot continue with this matter, I hereby transfer it to Federal High Court, Abuja, for a special trial. He has that power to do that. He can transfer matters also back to the Chief Judge of Federal High Court. So assignment another judge. You rule out the order, which will be signed by the registrar. Judge telling an order is surplusage. An order that is rolled out with a seal and sent is as valid as. So why write this letter? How the letter come about? And the person who signed the letter is special assistant to the chief judge.
Yes.
Which one is that one? Special assistant to the chief judge. They have politicized everything in Nigeria. Judiciary, now special assistant to the chief judge is now signing letters on behalf of the chief judge. So the chief judge need to write a letter.
Barrister. So what you're trying to say now is that letter doesn't have the force of law.
It's not the due process.
Okay.
There's no due process in the letter, because when you want to transfer a matter, judge has every power to make an order transferring a matter, and the order will be rolled out. The secretary register will sign it and then send it to whoever is concerned. Unless you are sending the order and attaching a letter to tell them that there's an order that was given by the chief judge transferring this matter, not just writing letter.
Okay. So, but in this case, what now happens?
Well, what happens is that nobody, as far as I'm concerned, that letter is incapable of obedience. Because if I were a lawyer to the issue, I would definitely go back to that court that the order emanated from and insist on the chief judge, if you want to transfer, make an order. Simple.
All right. Moving away a little from the legal angle, how do you think this Osun issue should be resolved? Because it seems that the masses are the ones suffering.
Yes, masses are the ones suffering. But you recall that this very local government fund that was withheld was the same thing Tinubu suffered in the hands of Obasanjo. And he got up to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court told him, you have no power to withhold local government fund by any means or manner. And Obasanjo said, well, nobody can teach me the Constitution. So when he said nobody can teach me the Constitution, we now know he has, capsized. So he later released the fund to Tinubu.
Okay.
The same Tinubu, people don't learn from history. The same Tinubu, who suffered under Obasanjo for almost 2 to 3 years without local government fund, or Supreme Court made a pronouncement. He now want to seize the same, the same local government fund, and then keep the people of Osun in misery. The reason, as far as I'm concerned, is that Aneke doesn't want to join APC. If Aneke joins APC tomorrow, you will see it. That's why I say whatever APC Tinubu cannot do doesn't exist. Okay. So they can always truncate their own law. They don't check rule of law. It is just anything you think goes. So that is their style.
All right.
Okay. Now, moving over to the Vanguard headline that says, Rivers Assembly resumes sitting and Fubara fails to show up.
You see, that's why this is Rivers Wahala. I try to avoid talking about it, because each time it's raised, it irritates me. It irritates me in the sense that the people who even removed Fubara, what powers do they have to remove Fubara? And some people are telling Fubara, resign. I said, he doesn't also need to resign. Some people are asking me whether Fubara will still have to recoup his 6 months that was wasted by a Buke, whatever the man is called. I say, Fubara will not be sworn in again, because the law says whoever has been sworn in. But the main thing that Tinubu removed him, so if he comes back tomorrow, he will not be sworn in. And I was being asked, I think it was on this TV, how will he come back? I said, if Tinubu knows the way he removed him, let him also do what? Bring him back that way. So maybe Fubara is waiting for the retinue of soldiers and police that invaded his office the day Tinubu pronounced his exit to also come wherever he is and take him back. Now, saying that he didn't come back, and like I said, if you are settling a fight, you don't bring the stick with which people fought. And you say, Uche, you fought this cameraman with this stick. It's not good, though, but make you not fight again. No, you don't want to settle the fight. You want them to continue. Because if you are showing people the stick with their fought, that means you want the fight to continue. The House of Assembly in Rivers State is still talking bold. You can see, immediately they resumed yesterday, they issued an ultimatum calling Fubara to come and present the list of commissioner nominees. You see, as if to say that the governance in that state is starting afresh. So these are the kind of things I sometimes look at, and it irritates me. Wike, who parades himself as the godfather of reverse politics. I keep on saying it. It is sad that he appends LLB to his name. Otherwise, and the wife of Wike is also a judge of the Court of Appeal. And yet, Wike breaks Nigerian law with impunity, and nothing happens. And he's the only lawyer I have ever seen who is a life bencher, but who has never gone to court to move a motion.
Barrister.
I'm not trying to be personal.
Barrister, this is where I come in again. People have not taken him to court, and who seem to believe that whatever he does is under the ambience of the law.
He said it himself.
Yes.
He said that it has not been tested by any court. But then again, you find out that this matter has been in Supreme Court to test the legality of fumarans removal, and the Supreme Court has sat on it for over 6 months, which is an aberration.
So
It's an aberration.
That's your constituency. You're a prince in the
Yes, I keep
justice.
keep on saying it. That the Supreme Court of Oputa, Showemimo, Nikitobi, that one is gone. The Supreme Court will now have the Supreme Court of what is the other one that decided the tribal election at the Court of Appeal. These are the kind of Supreme Court. See, Nigeria don't need to produce judges that are outside the Nigerian state. Whatever, if Nigeria is corrupt generally, you don't need to produce policemen who are saints. You also produce corrupt police officers. If Nigeria is corrupt, you don't need to produce judges who are saints. You also have to get corrupt judges. Jonathan was in, I think on Tuesday or Wednesday in Ghana during his democracy colloquium or whatever. He said, no investor comes into any country where politicians dictate judgments of court. A former president, which means he knows politicians now dictate the judgment of court. If politicians dictate judgment or tell you what you have to give in judgment, it becomes an India means Banana Republic in Uganda. I tell the chief judge to do this, and if want to fail to do it, you will get him punished or killed. So this is the way we have found ourselves. But like I keep on saying, it doesn't last forever. There is no country that didn't go through this kind of trajectory. Okay. My prayer is that the day to end, let it not end so violently, because it doesn't have to end one day. And like we keep on seeing in other places, like Showere was talking yesterday or the day before. He said Nigeria celebrated the removal of people in power in Nepal. They rejoice at what happens in other people's country. But they come to their own country. Instead of trying to face their own leaders and chase them away, they are going to struggle for jollof rice. You see the problem? People who came to eat jollof rice were about close to more than 20,000.
They were hungry, perhaps.
Fine. But people who removed the government in Nepal are not up to 1 million. But people who have clustered to eat only jollof rice in Lagos.
Perhaps we don't have up to 1 million hungry persons.
So what I'm saying is that, ordinarily speaking, Wike says whatever he's doing has not been interpreted by the court to be right or wrong. And we know the Wike who always take to go to court, the Wike who judges fall over because they want to give the land allocation in Abuja, the Wike who goes to take a doctorate degree, honoris causa, and judges accompany him. You can imagine what you expect. Which if you're a judge, and I am a litigant, and this man is the person, this lady is the person I'm fighting against in court. And as you is going, you judge, you have no car. If you begged the litigant to carry you in her car, whether you discussed my case, they already didn't discuss. I will assume you discussed my case while my opponent was carrying you in her car. That's exactly what is happening. Judges should have had their emolument as prescribed by the Constitution coming from the consolidated revenue account of the federal government. You create a budget, the Accountant General of the nation signs it, you carry every money to the judiciary, pay it in the judiciary account. Let them disburse it the way they like. Let them not wait for the Federal Capital Territory Minister to give them a land allocations. If they want to buy land for judges, let them buy from land allocation and tell the judges to pay from their salary gradually. These are the things that will make the judges independent. Not the way it is going now. Sometimes they will buy cars and say they are sharing to judges, maybe state governors. If the state governor share cars to you as a judge or give you cars as a judge, certainly if you have any public interest litigation that involve the state, you will be so reluctant to go and file it in any of these courts, because if you file it, maybe the governor will call the judge handling the matter and tell him that they are interested in this matter. If it's a judge that has discipline, he will hands off the case. If it's one that's not disciplined, he will not go say, okay, my lord, your excellency, what do you want? And he will tell him what he wants, and he will give the judgment and tell you to go on appeal.
Barrister, this is your forte. What's your MBA? And you just had your conference and other.
Yes.
Where does MBA come in all this?
It was part of the resolution we took that there is need to weed the corrupt officials in the judiciary vis-a-vis the lawyers who are encouraging them. Because no judge, well, if there may be any, but it will be a very, very small number, will come out and call a litigant and tell him or tell him or her, come and give me money. It will be rare. Some judges can do it, but it will be rare before you see a judge who will do that. They still have to work through lawyers. So the corruption in the judiciary comes from the lawyers. So we weed ourselves first. We have to do an in-house cleaning of lawyers. Because there is nothing you do as a lawyer which other lawyers don't know. If you practice the law very well, you practice the people, your colleagues will know you practice very well. If you practice that because you know every judge, whichever judge wants you work to the judge, your colleagues know. Like I said here the other day, that many people now come and brief lawyers and ask them, I hope you know a judge who will handle this matter. Not, I hope you know the law that you use in doing my matter. Now, it is who the judge you know and not the law you know. So that's the way we have degenerated into. But the only thing I say is that if there are 30 judges, you might have 1, 2, 3 of them that is corrupt. Then the remaining 27 might still be good. Right. Because like I said, out of every 12, there is 1 Judas. So if you have 24, 2 Judases, 36, 3 Judases, as the number increase, the Judases will increase.
All right.
Yes.
Let me take you back to River State.
Yes.
Are you of the view that the 6-month state of emergency in Rivers will not restore the harmony, the peace that it sought to bring among the stakeholders in River State?
No, I think it has worsened it.
Why would you say that?
It has worsened the peace.
Now,
Florida did not come back immediately. You have seen it from our headlines. Ordinarily, if the settlement has been brokered and it got to the heart of everybody, he will dare freely tomorrow, yesterday, whatever thing that has been. And the man who was there, I wonder whom he handed over to. Maybe handed over to the head of service, because he has no vice, he has no deputy governor. So maybe he handed over to the head of service, or maybe he handed over to the speaker. Awforkansi doesn't know. But you see, when the foundation of any discourse is faulty, the conclusion certainly will be faulty. The removal of the man was defective. So his reinstatement is also defective, because they don't even know how to reinstate him. That's why I said they don't know how to reinstate him, because they don't know whether to use the same force they use in removing him to reinstate him. And if Tinubu had been somebody who listens, by the time he saw the outcry, both nationally and internationally, about the illegal removal of Barr, you could have used one flimsy excuse and then transmit to the National Assembly to abridge the 6 months. And that people have learned their lesson. Accepted we saw Fubara going to commission projects with Wike in Abuja. That one has smooth screen. It don't reach for heart. So if they are going to do the right thing, well, like I keep on advising, like I've told the young man, if I were you, I'll come back to my seat. Whatever they want, you do it. Know that you're a one-term governor. After that, then we go, because a good soldier is he who fights and runs away. So he can come back and fight another day. Okay. Because as far as I'm concerned, Fubara has warmed himself to the heart of Rivers people. Even if he goes to another political party now and contests election and there's no rigging, he will still win.
Okay.
Yeah, because the humiliation they have given him and have taken it in good faith now catapults him. Because there are cases you do in court as lawyers, why you are, prosecuting a matter. The person you are prosecuting the matter for is the one who suffers the stigma. I'll give you just a brief example. If you do a case of rape, and a lady who was raped is put in the witness box to give evidence, that's why most of the time they mask them. You are prosecuting a man who raped him, but the lady you are working for is the person who will suffer the stigma tomorrow. Somebody wants to go and marry her. I say, this one they raped the other time. Why? Remember the man who raped him may be in prison. Nobody remembers him again. And if he comes out, he can marry even 10 wives if he wants. But the lady who was raped, who needed justice, is the one who now suffering the stigma. So that is what is happened in Barr's case. The people the person who is going to gain is the person who actually is being victimized. That is Fubara. Okay. And like I said earlier, Fubara's case has now become like the proverbial Ejiaga music, where the proverbial tortoise went and stole from the in-laws' house. They tied him and kept him somewhere in the morning. People who are going to the market saw the tortoise. Asked, what did he do? He said he stole from the in-laws' house. He said, you're a bad man. You want to stay and they want to go and stay from your in-laws' house. You have no respect. They went to the market. As they were coming back in the evening, they still saw the tortoise there. So I thought, what have you done again? He said, that is a theft I did in my in-laws. I said, tortoise in-law, you're a wicked man. So if tortoise didn't stay from you, who would you want it to stay from? Do you see the blame have now shifted? Yeah. So that's what is happening in Fubara's case. The blame in Fubara's case has shifted from what they find they had with Wike to now sympathy for Fubara.
All right. Given the headline on the Nation newspaper on the same issue,
yes,
why would you adduce to why we've not seen Fubara in the public, even though there are still fanfare at Azikiwe Street, people are dancing and celebrating, perhaps that he will show up today. But what would you adduce to why he didn't show up so far?
That's why I said maybe the young man is taking his time, because I said the foundation of this very exploded removal was defective. Okay. Maybe he's taking his time, maybe he's seeking advice, maybe he's still working on. Ordinarily, if it is something that is jumping at, he could have been back yesterday. He could have been back even day before yesterday night, because the time starts to run from 12 midnight on Wednesday. Okay. So if he has come back in him, then maybe the Air Commodore or the naval officer could have handed over to him direct. But the important thing is that the naval officer didn't take over from him. That's what people don't understand. He didn't take over from him because Fubara was whisked out of the government house. All right. So do you expect somebody who he didn't hand over to you to hand back to you? So that's why I said the foundation was defective. So if Fubara delays his coming back, maybe he's still consulting. And I do believe his consultation will be positive.
All right. But given the situation as it is now, we've heard the legislature calling him to come and present new commissioners, and then people allegedly believe that he's been given instruction and given names of commissioners, for which I've seen and heard the FC minister say that there's nothing like that. He has not given anybody any names. Yes. What do you think? Who do you think, given the situation now, is in charge of Rivers State?
Fubara is still the governor of Rivers State. If they bring a list other than his own list, they still have to pass it through him. They still need his signature in the list for him to present to the House of Assembly. And they can't forge his signature.
All right.
So if he feels that the list they brought to him did not take care of the people he wants, he can add his own names, all right, and then still send it to the House of Assembly. Nothing stops him. But from indices on the ground, it is what you call a deafening silence. Deafening, but they are silent, but people's ears are closed because of noise. They are silence. So they are deafening silence in Rivers State.
All right. And before I let you go, yes, let me just ask this. I'm just being curious anyway. Yeah. Still on the situation, we've seen the person in charge of what I call the PDAPC in Rivers State.
Yes.
Where does all that leave former Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi?
Well, Rotimi Amechi, like I said, you see, these are part of the problems we have in this country, part of the people who brought us to our days. So Rotimi, are you talking of Rotimi without talking of Peter Odili? There are people who have been there before Wike. But then those ones who are carrying themselves, in a grand style. They didn't want to do the brutal style of Nyesom Wike. Because Nyesom Wike's style is very archaic in nature. So he's unlike Rotimi. Rotimi still has his followers. Peter Odili has his followers. But Wike has coerced more followers. Both those he coerced, both those he bought with money, they are more in number now in terms of followership. But not on the voter strength. Don't get me wrong. Okay. I'm not saying that Wike, if we cast vote in Wike now for Wike and Rotimi Amechi, Rotimi will win because the votes are counted and they mean something. But if talking about political followership, and they are smaller, Because people in power and people's power are two different things. The people's power are the voters. People in power are the politicians. They are smaller in number, but Wike has more of the people in power. While Fubara and Rotimi has more of people's power. So that is the two things that are trying to rub mine in River State. Right. And if they allow things to flow the way it should flow, it is the voter that will humiliate Wike, not Fubara, not Rotimi, not even Peter Odili.
Okay, so
but if let the voters do the
so you will not join the call for Fubara to move over to the ADC?
No. What is he going to do? The ADC like a leper down south here, southeastern, the entire eastern region. Is a party. See, I said earlier that the Igbo man is mercantile in nature. We know good business good candidate when we see one. When Buhari came on board, we know Buhari was a bad market. If he contested 1 million times, he would never win any election. And that's why he said that we are just a small dot in a circle, and that he can't leave you who give you 95% and go to consider who give 5%, because we know Buhari cannot work. When Tinubu came, we also know Tinubu was a bad market. Forget about what they did in Rivers, cancelling results and writing whatever they like. Tinubu knows he lost virtually the entire eastern region from Enugu to Bayelsa. He lost everywhere. Whatever they gave to him was just manipulation, because we know he's a bad market. But remember, Abiola is a Yoruba man. I think you know that. But when Abiola contested in 1993, the South had voted for him overwhelmingly. Reason, being mercantile in nature, we know this one is a good market that he will sell. Atiku is from the north. When Atiku contested the election, the one they contested when Peter was his vice president, the Igbos voted for him en masse. Forget the shenanigan they do in Aneke and writing of results. That shows you the Igbo man, the southeasterner, whether you are from Bayelsa, whether you are Rivers, Calabar, Cross River, we know good market, because all of us, the Igbo man's mercantile nature spread through this entire eastern region. So we know good market when we see one. So that telling somebody to go into APC has been tainted. It's already tainted. As far as I'm concerned, you see, we campaigned seriously for Labour Party during the 2020 election. Even our man who won the election with the Enugu Federal Constituency, Scan Vumeha, he later defected to APC. I told him, well, it is your choice. You are a lawyer. You know what is good for you. But I'm not following you to any APC. Nor am I following anybody to go choose your candidate to go back to PDP. I still remain an obedient member. So, you see, when you make a political calculation, sometimes miscalculation, sometimes it's suicidal. If Fubara goes to APC, unless they write the result like they are saying they will write the result, because anything can happen in this country and nobody will question it. But if it is people to go and vote, they know that the APC cannot get any single vote. On what ground will they campaign? Is it on ground of light, when they told us that if they don't get to give you light, they don't vote for them a second term? And you don't have the light, and second term is around the corner. So tell me where under what pedestal they should go for campaign.
All right.
So going to APC is cider for him, right, and for anybody Eastern region here.
All right. This is still an unfolding story. 2027 is still far ahead. We were observers of the event, and however it unfolds, we'll continue to watch and listen.
2027 is not far.
All right.
It's around the corner already.
Barrister,
yes,
it's always a pleasure speaking with you, and thank you for joining us on Sunrise this morning.
Thank you for having me with you.
All right. So we'll go on